Hello and welcome back to more of Manufactoria 2022. Last time we did a challenge where we had to accept powers of 2 made up of sums of 2s and 3s. That was one of the more difficult problems that we've tackled so far, but now we just have one medium or moderate complexity challenge left on this section. So hopefully we'll be able to tackle that today and move on to the next section. So without further ado, we have this. Let's see, it can be so hard to determine what really adds to a company's bottom line and what's just there for obsolete or sentimental reasons. The perfect answer is a robot, a single-minded, ruthless machine devoted entirely to maximizing profits. No sentiment and no mercy for the obsolete. So, maximized for profits. There's a thing in computer science about like a paperclip maximizer or like a stamp collector. So the idea is you build a robot whose sole goal is to collect as many stamps as possible. Well, what might that robot do? It might take over the world, enslave humanity, and put everybody's efforts into making stamps. Like, you really have to think about what it is you actually want and how much power you are giving things. And let's see what this one is. Accept robots that enter with at least 15 cents on their tape. Junk the rest. Okay, so this seems a lot simpler than some of the previous ones. So, we obviously need to start somewhere. And then I think we can just do like sort of a staggered thing where if we see 10 cents, we jump down to like the 5 cents remaining layer. And if we see 5 cents, we jump down to the 10 cents remaining layer because 15 minus 5 is 10. So let's try something like that. So if we have this layer here, we'd probably need to move it one further down. So we can have 5 cents, this can be the 10 cents remaining one. And then we can have like a 5 cents remaining one. And at that point, we see anything, that will be at least 5 cents. Alright, so here's the idea. This is, we need to check that there's at least 15 cents remaining here. If we see 5 cents, we need to check that there's at least 10 cents remaining. If we see a 10 there, we're done. If we see a 5, we need to go to the 5 cents remaining. And similarly, if we go from 15 cents and we see a 10, we only need to go to the 5. And if we run out at any of these places, then we've run out too soon. Let's give this a whirl and yeah, so you can see this puzzle was a lot simpler than yesterday's. Let's see, Marcus was a bit distressed by the cutter's performance. It was doing great numbers, better than expected even, but was also recommending what Marcus thought was an awful lot of firings. I reassured him our work was creating so many efficiencies that the economy was bound to boom. There'd be loads of jobs somewhere very soon. Okay, so I think one of the other levels in this section said that the robots were predicting huge GDP and huge unemployment. So, maybe the jobs aren't coming back. All right, on to another section, governance. Let's see. Danica had changed a lot from the early days as product designer, but she cared just as much about her work. It was more obvious than ever as she ran our new good government department, working to overcome bureaucracy. Danica had remade her body, now she'd remake societies. Okay, so we've got a simple complexity one. So let's start there and get an introduction to this sections dynamics, I guess. Danica had adopted an 8-year-old a year or two back, since her body had more motors than muscles. Her kids' teachers were overworked and hard-pressed to keep up. If they had robots to give lectures on their behalf, imagine how much time they'd have to prepare new course plans and do everything else they needed. Okay. Delete the first task, if any, before producing. So, robots enter with tasks and students, I guess. So, if I'm... Oh. So you see blues until a red, and that's a task. Like students until a folder is a task. Okay, so this is just delete everything up to the first red. So I haven't seen a red yet, so I can do this. And then once I see a red, I'm just going to want to cycle through until I get to the end. And we'll just use something similar to their example. So these blues and the first red. So you didn't see it before, like all the blues until a red are a task, and a task can be empty, but it's deleting the first task, which is the collection of blues until the first red. So we go here and we delete everything until we get to a red, which deletes the first task. And then, oh, we don't even need to cycle through this now that I look at the solution, because that just takes everything we have left and brings it back where it was. So we should just be able to move this here. And you know what? If I put this guy here, this should just do the same thing. Yeah, it goes until we see a red, deletes it, and drops it in. And we can't... Well, let's see if there's any weird edge cases. I guess there is one here. I had to deal with the empty string. Alright, so that was compact. Okay, lectures were easy to program in, but handling a class of bored 8-year-olds was a bit trickier. Many robots fell to their tantrums. Once we thought to add glowing red eyes, an extra deep voice modulator, and a built-in laser pointer that we labeled a death ray, though things improved. Turned out all we needed to keep control of the kids was to terrorize them. So the youth of the world is growing up to be terrified by robots now. Yeah, I was gonna say that this would get all the achievements I was expecting. Because, well, it's hard to get more efficient than what I just did there. Let's see. When Danica suggested we could improve policing, she clarified she didn't mean that police officers would need to replace as much of themselves as Danica had. Even those who didn't want to become RoboCops, though, might want to have a robo-partner. Okay. Okay. Make each task one person larger than produce. So, okay, so we can see down here, blue then a red becomes 2 blues then a red. just a red becomes a blue and a red. 2 blues and a red becomes 3 blues and a red. Okay, that seems not too bad. So again, I think we'll need to know when we're done. Let's add this green one. And then every time we're going to need to add a blue and a red. If we keep seeing blues, we can cycle back through. Once we see a red, we will need to write that back in. We've already added the extra blue up top, so we don't have to worry about that. And then we can cycle in to do it all again. And then once we see a green, we'll need to be at the end. So we should be able to handle this with this, and then just go to the success. So 1, 2, 2, 1. So their example is this. Let's give it a whirl. So we add a green onto the end, add an extra blue, cycle through. The first folder has now become, this is 2 blues and a red, so that's this one, which is now at the back behind the green, but it will move up as we continue to read everything else. And then, again, we changed a red to a blue and a red, so that's correct. And we go, and this last 2 blues and a red becomes 3 blues and a red. And now, oh, okay. That was the one issue. Okay, so we have an issue here, which I guess means that instead of ending the tape here like I thought we would, we actually have to end it here. So we should just be able to do that with a green-yellow filter. We'll never have any yellows. So can I simply move this up here, and then as we go through the same process again, we won't write that extra blue onto the back because we won't reach this point. Okay, so that handled correctly. So let's try running all of them. Oh, it doesn't like the empty. Okay. So what does it want for an empty string? Nothing. Okay, so we'll need to delete the green and a blue, and then accept. Okay. And then what if we just end? We can't just end with blues. Okay. 0 plus red ended tasks, so they'll always end with a red. If they have anything. Okay. As usual, one edge case tripping me up. Let's see. When user reports came back, I was disappointed to hear that our deputies were mostly left working desk jobs. Danica's fine with it though. You can make a lot of impact from behind the scenes, she told me. Yeah. Every field has grunt work. Oh. I just want to, this won't make it more efficient, but it will make it slightly more compact. Awesome. That one got a time achievement, but not a scanner, like not a number of pieces or a size achievement. Interesting. Okay, do I want to start a super complicated one or just a kind of complicated one? Let's leave Keeper for maybe its own episode. I mean, these high complexity ones can be pretty difficult on themselves, so I'll give this one a whirl to start with. Robo Paralegal. I visited our in-house lawyers recently and noticed a whole bunch of people milling around who were clearly not the high-powered professionals I paid so much for. Paralegals, apparently, a whole army of specialized trained assistants taking up valuable space and air and money in my company. It was long past time for me to replace them all with robots. Valuable space and air. Okay. Accept robots if all of their tasks are the same length when they enter, or they have no tasks. Junk the rest. Okay, and these will all end in reds. Okay. So I think the right thing to do here is probably going to be to delete one thing from each task, one person. I'm a little confused why it's all like people in folders. I mean, thematically they've made it make sense with like students and officers and paralegals who might have to deal with that, but I don't know. It strikes me as odd. But if I delete one from each of these, and then I can just go and finish when it's all tasks that don't have any blues. So that would be all reds. So I guess the first thing to do is figure out what would it take to delete a single individual from a task. And we will mark the end of the tape because we're definitely going to need to do that. So we see the first individual. At that point, we will want to replace any additional ones we see because we're just subtracting one each time. So we'll need to keep any blues we see, and if we see an additional red, that means that folder is there. We should keep that. So this, if we just have like 3 blues and a red, should give me 2 blues and a red. Because it deletes one here and then cycles back through everything. Great, so that component works as expected. So what if we have 2 blues and a red twice? The first one will delete a blue, and then the second one will delete a blue. Okay. So this should... Great. And then... Okay, so then we have to figure out what to do once we've seen the end of this string. Or once we've seen the end, we then... We'll then have to do this, and we'll probably just have to start this process over again. So if we just bring this back to the start, that should be okay. So we have 2 blues and 2 reds. We bring it through. And now we have 2 blues and a single red, but we have to get rid of that green. We get rid of the green. Bring it back to the start. And we have 1 blue and 1 red for each. Remove a blue from each of them. Oh, if I'm going to do this, however, I need to replace that green I just read. Just consumed. So we goes through, we move the green to the back. Go one blue, one red. Do it again. 0 blues, reds, and then we get to the red. And at that point, I think what we are going to want to do is just check if we have only reds. So let's add a checker here. If we have reds, we're fine, we can keep going. If we have any blues, then we've run out of one of our files early. And if we get to the end, I'll show you, because I think there is a case where this breaks. So, like, if all the files are the same length, this gets down to all reds, and then it passes through here, deletes all the reds, gets to the green, and is empty. However, if the first file is like longer than the second file, so if we only had one blue and a red here, I think this won't quite work, because we'll go 2 blues, 1 blue, 1 blue, 0 blues, and then we're not entering this point at the start. We see a red in this file, but it's not the first file. So it's running out with 4 other ones. So if we have something left over here, it's going to be incorrect. So I think we just need to add another filter here. And then we'd be able to accept them. So let's see if this works. No. As usual, empty string. Okay. That is annoying. How do I deal with the empty string here? I'm going to do this in the really obvious way. If we write a green and the first thing we see is a green, then we accept it. Two blues and a red followed by a red. So this is 2 and 0. So it becomes blue and a red, and then we get a red. Okay, so we can have blues here. This was the case that that first file has exactly one more, but it could have more than one, in which case it goes this way. Okay. Great. Danica had been spending quite a lot of time with lawyers lately, which was helpful for this project. Her real goal was legalization of non-traditional personhood. There had been a number of recent reversals for artificial intelligence in the courts, but she was confident the arc of history bent their way. there's a lot of the super high complexity ones. Alright, we will get... let me see what the judge is. When I went to dispute a speeding ticket I unfairly received, I was disgusted by the judge's behavior. She clearly didn't care about the case at all. Justice could only prevail with a dedicated, dispassionate arbitrator overseeing every case. Right. If a robot had been running that courtroom, a much more reasonable viewpoint would have prevailed. I like the complaining about the judge not caring, but the judge also being dispassionate, which I realize are not exactly opposites, but the writing on this is clean enough. Okay, accept robots that enter each task longer than its predecessor. Junk the rest. Okay, so I have an idea for this, which is that you kind of do what we just did with removing a blue from each file, but then at some point you'll get one that starts with a red and you delete that and then you remove a blue from each file. So that seems interesting. However, I don't think I have the time to complete it this episode. So I am going to leave that for next time. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a great day. All right, bye.